Welcome, Spartans, to Podcast Evolved, your home for Halo. I'm your host, Oran, and with me today is David.
Hello, everybody.
And Aaron.
Hi, guys.
What's up, you two? Today, we're going to be talking about the character dossiers and continuing our series with Atriox and the other Banished Leaders that I've already met or know little about, and we'll dive into each one of those different characters for you guys today. But before we get started, if you're new to the show, welcome to Podcast Evolved. We host a variety of different shows. This is our main show where we host Halo news, Halo lore, and reach out to you, the listener. Our other shows include Halo Headlines, Builds with Blocks, Halo Book Club, Mission Debrief, which, by the way, is in the middle of their 20 for 20 YouTube series, where they're diving into the best 20 missions of all the Halo campaigns before Halo Infinite. We also have a partnership with HCS Pro Talk. Will and Josh every week discuss the latest information within the competitive Halo scene with an emphasis on community every week. They're approaching their 200 episode, by the way, and they have something special planned for their listeners. So if you listen to this, check their feed. It should be around that time when this releases, so go give them a listen. You can learn more about all of our shows and HCS Pro Talk and everything else that we're involved in the Halo community at our website, halopodcast.com. If you're already a fan of the show, we ask you to please give us a review and rate us on iTunes or wherever you listen or watch our show. We greatly appreciate all of the feedback that you guys give us so we can improve the quality of our shows. We want to also take a moment to thank all of our patrons. You guys have been a huge support as we've grown over the last couple of years. So thank you all so much. If you're a listener that wants to learn more about what it means to be a Podcast Evolved patron, you could head over to patreon.com/HaloPodcastEvolved to learn more. We offer a variety of awards such as exclusive early episodes, unique swag, and even downloading our own soundtrack of 18 songs. And with that, let's see what you guys have been doing over the last week in Halo. We'll go to Aaron first. What have you been up to in the last week, Aaron?
I've been playing this fantastic Halo game called Mass Effect 2. Yay!
Oh boy.
Yeah, I've done no Halo this week at all. I wrapped up the first Mass Effect last week, and then I started on 2, and I was going like, yep, I remember all of this game, it's great, I'm going to start playing. And then I immediately started playing and went, fuck, I don't remember any of the start of this game. So it's just been like non-stop playing ever since, because it turns out I don't know what the memories I have of Mass Effect 2 are, but they're not in the game yet. So I've no idea what's happening. I had to turn to the internet a couple of times to be like, why do I not remember this character? Oh, they were DLC, that's why. So that's very weird as well, playing this game, and I have 2 characters in my team so far who weren't in my original playthrough because I didn't own them.
That's very pretty strange. Cool though, but it gives you like a total fresh game to play though. It's really good. And there's probably so many people who never got, like, Javik is like the DLC character from the third game, and like so many people didn't have that DLC. And like when you play the game with him, it's so different. Like the whole game is so, like, there's so many great conversations. And, you know, minor kind of spoilers, as probably everyone knows, he's a Prothean. So like it's so dope playing through a game with a Prothean on your team. It's really cool.
I did have him. That was the one when I went into 3. I was like, I need that DLC because that seems to be the best one. But I'm playing so far. I have who's the veteran, like, Merc guy, Zahid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I had no memory of him, and then I was like, well, this is why I've got no memory of him, because he wasn't in my playthrough. And then there's the thief whose name I can't remember.
Kasumi.
So yes, so I'm doing her
quest
loyalty
is cool
mission.
Well. Yeah, it's great.
At the minute.
You get a great gun from that mission. That's one of the best things about her. You get like a dope SMG.
Yeah, so I've just been sort of working my way through that. I don't remember the black hole gun from the original game, so I don't know if that was like...
No, that's new. That was from something, like, I didn't even have that. That's either new.
That's all right, because that weapon seems ridiculously useful for everything. You just shoot it down a row of enemies and they all suck away and disappear.
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah. But no Halo, none at all. Apart from doing research for this week's show, that's about the most Halo I've touched in a while. I do mean to get back into it and do a bit more, but life got in the way.
All right, well, right on. David, did you play some Mass Effect as well, it sounds like?
Yes, I have. I've started Mass Effect 3. I took a big break between 2 and 3, because I played the first 2 games back to back, and I was like, this is too much. I need a break. And from that I got into Hades, which I fucking love. I played The Ascent, which I fucking love.
Nice.
I haven't done any Halo whatsoever since Mission Debrief. So I have almost nothing to report on the Halo side of the world.
Yeah,
Pretty basic.
I tried out The Ascent. I enjoy it. I think I did this did 2 hours of a playthrough, and haven't really dived back into it just yet. But
I really got into it.
But I'm liking it. I think it's cool. I'm just kind of in this holding pattern for this other game that I'm looking forward to at the end of the month, called Diablo 2 Resurrected, that I just can't wait to play it again. So short of that, Halo related, I have actually done something. Ooh. We have our little series, Map Legends, that we do with the HCS Pro Talk team. It's like their series that we produce. So our next episode, since I kind of fell off that train with everything else that's been going on in the Halo world, and I just recorded episode 3, and it is currently in the editing phase. We have some video as well. So I don't want to share which map or maps we talk about, as it's all going to be revealed on, I think, episode 201 of HCS Pro Talk, and then it will find its way to our YouTube channel shortly thereafter. So if you are a fan of those, the first 2 episodes are on our YouTube, and you can check them out now. So, but yeah, that's us. Now, our character dossier series, of course, is us diving into the loved and not so loved characters within the Halo universe, with a sort of twist of, whether or not we think there will be, or actually rather, we think there will be some importance within Halo Infinite. So we've discussed multiple characters, and we're kind of wrapping up our Forerunner, or we since have wrapped up our Forerunner end of it, and now we're looking at the Banished and some of the leaders within the ranks. Last time we talked about the 2 Didacts, and that sort of wrapped up our sort of Forerunner aspect of those characters, just in case they pop up, because of course they were very relevant in Halo 4 and Halo 5. And I think, David, you'll give us a little overview of what we talked about in case you forgot, and if you want to learn more, you could of course listen to our very in-depth and borderline exhaustive episode, because there's a lot of info for these 2/1 character. But David, go ahead and give us a little bit of a rundown of what we discussed before Aaron takes us through with the Banished Leaders.
Sure. So the Didacts are pretty incredible characters. So there were 2 Didacts. So the original is referred to as the Ur-Didact, and the younger copy is the Iso-Didact. So the Ur-Didact full name is Shadow of a Sundered Star, and the Iso-Didact's full name is Bornstellar Makes Eternal Lasting. They will both hold the title of the Protector of the Ecumene. The Ur-Didact was married to the Librarian, and they had several children together. The Ur-Didact would grow to hate humanity and after being tortured and corrupted by the Flood. The Iso-Didact was created after Bornstellar performed a brevet mutation with the Ur-Didact. This made a copy of the Didact's mind within Bornstellar, which would eventually take over. It's pretty crazy. The Librarian would go on to lock the Ur-Didact away in a cryptum on Requiem after he turned on her and composed her humans. The Iso-Didact would step in to replace the Ur-Didact and eventually fire the Halos and wipe out all life in the galaxy. The Ur-Didact eventually escaped his cryptum and went through the events of Halo 4 and would be ultimately composed during a fight with Chief in Escalation Comics. The Next 72 Hours is the name of that comic. The Isodidact will go on to lead the team of Foreigners back to Mithrilian to restore the domain before retiring from life in the galaxy and raise a son with Chant to Green. And that's a short story. It's pretty cool, actually. So there's a lot of information there, and I said a lot of words that are pretty mental unless you knew Halo. But the Didact as a character is awesome. Everyone knows him. He knows he's the best. So go check that episode out. There's so much more information on these two guys and the life that they had. It's pretty awesome. But this week we got a little something different.
Yeah, a little something different. It kind of became natural in our series that we would eventually be talking about the Banished and the characters within the ranks. Now, we have done a previous episode that talks more about the faction and their upbringing in our Road to Infinite series, where we talk about the Banished. So there will be a little bit of crossover in there, but we're going to basically highlight who we think will be kind of big players or just other characters to provide context from, specifically like Halo Wars 2, since the Banished were in that. So the first person I think we kind of have to start with is the founder/leader, Atriox. So Aaron, go ahead and take it away.
Next time I suggest a series for the podcast, remind me not to make it one that has lots of lore ever again.
Coming from a host of a lore-centric Halo podcast.
Yeah, what are you giving out about?
Some of these are very long.
Yeah, your
hey
scripts are
man,
incredible.
when I suggested Road to Infinite, I buckled and strapped in for all that lore. Remember when we talked about Living Time?
Yeah,
yes,
that was good shit.
That's as bad as talking about the two Didacts and their weird three-way open relationship with the librarian. So, right, there's nothing that weird in the Banished, thankfully. So, like we said, first top of the chain here, the food chain here, is Atriox. He was born on May 28th, 2510. His homeworld is Dossier. That is the homeworld of the Brutes. He is 2.6 meters or 8'6" tall. He is about 635 kilos or 1,400 pounds. He has black and grey hair, reddish orange eyes, and his rank is Banished War Master. So, a lot of Atriox's history will tie in with the Banished because he is the founder of the Banished. So, I have tried to summarize this as best I can. It also overlaps with some of his other leaders that we do have lore for, so you will end up getting a few repeats of information here and there. But I have done my best to thin this out for us. So, like I said, Atriox was born into the Covenant on May 20th, 2510. When he was old enough, he joined the Covenant military and was trained by Isaram, who was his Daskalo, mentor, basically. Not actually sure. I've never heard that word said out loud before. During the Covenant's war against humanity, Atriox served as a Jiralhane stalker. For part of the war, he served alongside his war brothers Castor and Ursun. You may remember Castor and Ursun from the Troy Denning novels. It's the Troy Denning Last Light, isn't it?
Yeah, that's them.
Yes.
That's all right. It
starts
to get a little confusing with who all we are. So they were stalkers of the Blood Stars. In his role, he was commanded by the First Blade of the Silent Shadow and charged with hunting down demons, which they've had some success with in the Halo universe over the years. At one point, they captured a squad of ODSTs, and they learned of the rumour that the Spartan 2's program had abducted children as subjects. So that, I suppose, ties into the Halo Wars introduction to Atriox in Halo Wars 2, where he says, as I suspected, when he knocks the helmet off Douglas. So late in the war, the Covenant began to use Atriox's pack as frontline troops, throwing them against UNSC targets as cannon fodder. and groups of 40 brutes were sent in at a time. This is pretty much Isabel's introduction to Atriox in Halo Wars 2, in case it sounds familiar. They were sent in 40 at a time. They would be thrown against the enemy. They would all get killed, and then they would send another wave in. And this went on for a while until it was Atriox's turn, and then he became the first survivor to come back. And all of that is touched on in Rise of Atriox Issue 1 and that cutscene. Atriox continues to lose packmates for a while, but he continues to survive the battles. He gets more and more resentful about the Covenant and the Prophets. He also starts to become quite well known and legendary within brute circles of the Covenant, because he's essentially the brute version of Master Chief. Like, there's no way to say otherwise. He's always coming out of these battles and surviving when almost no one else does. So, as time goes on, he loses faith in the Great Journey. He also starts to lose faith in the genocide of humans. In 2559, during the occupation of the human colony of Algalus, Atriox once again returns from another battle. He's the only one left. The Sangheili that's in charge of the attack is starting to get wary of Atriox's fame among the ranks, and that he's more than a little bit disgruntled. I think they describe it's a panel in the comic where he's just sitting covered in human blood by himself, having a bit of a quiet moment. So the Sangheili talks to Truth and suggests that it might be time to get rid of Atriox. Truth says, no, let's not be too hasty. He could be useful. Go and just check first, and if he seems very anti-Covenant, then we may have to deal with it. So the Sangheili go over to congratulate him on his battle. He plays it down and says, no, he just did what he was ordered to do. They pile on the praise, and he gets very pissed off, and he responds that he doubts his brothers were defending the Great Journey as opposed to dying pointlessly. And then they go and report back to... Yes, blasphemy. Full-on open blasphemy. So the Sangheili in charge reports back to Truth. Truth is like, right, we need to sort this. So the next time they go into battle on the colony world, all of the brutes that are with Atriox are in awe of him, except for one, who's giving him the death glare the whole time and played his hand a little early that he was here to do other things. So Atriox, during this battle, finds a wounded human marine, tells him to run, and basically stalks him down. And while he's stalking this human marine, he does a little bit of a vent and complains about his lack of faith in the Covenant, their lies, problems with the Prophets, and then has a little bit of a therapeutic stress relief session as he stalks this human and then kills him. This other brute overhears the whole conversation, battles Atriox. Atriox murders him, and then they fly back to the base. When they fly back there, the Sangheili use the excuse that he murdered another brute in battle as reason to have him killed and executed. So they gather up to do the dirty on him, and that does not go well. You've seen the cutscene of it. They go to stab him. Atriox intercepts the plasma sword with his hand, beats the shit out of the Sangheili that was going to kill him, and then the other brutes step in to take out the rest of them. And this starts the beginning of the Banished. Okay, next up we have... Now they're enemies of the Covenant. They are the Banished, hence the name The Banished. They are banished from the Covenant. It's all nice and straightforward. So they have to become self-reliant, and they take to raiding both UNSC and Covenant facilities for resources. So in 2550, the Banished raid Carter Guard Armory. And this is the first time the UNSC get footage of Atriox in battle, and ODST's helmet cam picks him up, and Oni study the footage. The attack in the armory is unique because the Covenant, when they attack a human world, they destroy everything, they don't take anything, whereas the Banished and Atriox cleaned the armory out and took all of the equipment, because the Banished have no issues using human equipment, as we've seen Atriox's body armor. Is it Atriox's body armor is made out of ODST chest pieces?
It's like a... Yes, I think it's like a mixture of UNSC armor. I don't know if it's any confirmed Spartan armor.
No, we have one other brute who has Spartan armor in his armor, and
I think it's just General Marine
just
and
that
ODST.
One guy?
Yeah,
but I couldn't remember if it was him or it was Decimus, but I know one of them has like multiple ODST chest pieces bolted together as like stomach protection on his armor because they're too small to go over his chest. So they make use of anything they can lay their hands on. Also, later that year in June, the UNSC sends a team out to a Covenant training camp that had been attacked by the Banished as well. And apart from a couple of dead elites, they don't find anything else. It's the same thing again. All the equipment is taken, the vehicles, and there aren't enough bodies there for the size of the camp, so they can only assume that he also took recruits. So that is all covered in Rise of Atriox issue 2. And then at some point prior to the end of the Human Covenant War, Atriox was aboard a CCS battlecruiser in preparation for leaving a location that had been looted. And when Atriox gives the order to engage the engines, the ship suffers a series of catastrophic explosions. One of them is on the bridge with Atriox, and in a quick and kind of genius move, he picks up another brute beside him who happens to be in a vacuum suit and chucks him at the hole on the bridge to plug the hole.
I thought this was great. It was a great scene. It's ridiculous, but it's cool.
Yeah. Like, it's the sort of thing, if you heard of any other species, like even an elite, picking up a grunt and shoving them in the hole to stop it, that would make perfect sense. But the idea that Atriox just, like, scoops up another brute and chucks him into the hole, it says a lot about him. So he then tells the ship's engineer to go and check what happened. Why did the ship explode? What was going on? He's then told the engineer is the guy that you stuck in the hole to plug it. And then he gets a bit curious and he tries to figure out why the engineer was the only person on the bridge wearing a vacuum suit when they were about to fly away from the planet. He quizzes.
Clock ticking. This is cool.
Yes, it may have been a little suspicious to be the only one in the suit that would save you if the ship decompressed. So he quizzes this guy. The engineer doesn't have very good explanations. He can't decide if he's lying or incompetent, so he's either an idiot or a spy. So he ultimately strangles him and leaves his corpse there to plug the hole. And also serves as a pretty good warning to everyone else not to fuck with him. So that's all covered in Rise of Atriox issue 3. Next up, we have, after this incident, they take the battle cruiser to the Covenant planet Utrak, I'm going to say. And they want to go there. Decimus says that there is a Covenant facility there run by a Kigyar scientist called Sigran, and they should go and see can they recruit her because she would be quite a good ally to have. When they get there, they try to persuade Rand to join them. She shows them some of the technology she's come up with, and it's basically a way to mimic the Yanmei's Queen's control of drones. So she has an army of drones on the planet that she can direct and control as she wishes. But before anything else can happen, she attacks Decimus and the couple of brutes he brought with him with the drones. and it seems like they're just about to be overwhelmed, and then Atriox comes in and saves the day. He starts to smash the fuck out of the drones, and suddenly Ran realizes they are completely outgunned in this fight. So before Atriox can actually get to her, she summons one of her drones and uses it to carry her away from battle. But at the last minute, Decimus shoots the drone in the back with an overcharged plasma pistol, and she falls to her death. Oof. And then, yeah, not a great way to go. Although then again, she was probably going to be torn in half or eaten if Atriox got a hold of her. So you don't want to be a big battle chicken when the Banished arrive. Next up, when we have this, then the battle's over. Decimus is examining the control device for the drones. He's coming up with all these great ideas about how they can use the drones as engineers in the Banished fleet to help bulk things up. And Atriox hears this, takes the device, and immediately crushes it in front of him. Decimus kind of loses his shit and, what the fuck did you do that for? And then Atriox explains to him that while the Covenant treated its warriors as tools, he aspires to a much higher standard for himself. The Covenant's disregard for its troops, after all, had been the reason that they had left, and Atriox enthusiastically states that he wishes for those following him to do so because they know him and know he will do whatever it takes to accomplish his goals, not because they are tricked into doing it by a peculiar technology or biological cheat.
What a dope kind of statement. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, it's like the ultimate sort of warrior thing of, I don't want people to follow me because they think they have to. I want them to follow me because they want to.
That's cool. That's what I like, that they go into this background of Atriox. They explain why he's such an interesting character, and why he has people recruit, how he convinces humans and even elites to join him. It's pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah, he has a lot of sway, and he's very persuasive because time and time again he just uses his mind and conversation to bring people over to his side. So let's see. After that, we have with the end of the Covenant in 2552, the Banished no longer have to basically run and hide and watch over their shoulder. They're now free to expand freely, and Atriox takes full advantage of that. He sends his chieftains out to spread Banished influence across the galaxy. He also spreads his influence into human criminal circles because Atriox has no particular issues working with humans. If you are fit for purpose and you can help in the Banished, he's more than happy to take you aboard. So they're now recruiting from every species, including the elites, because he's also not holding a grudge against the elites over the schism. Even if they are, he's open to everyone, which is good. And at some point following the Great Schism, Atriox was leading from an STV class heavy corvette, Elegies Lament? I'm going to assume that's
Elegy.
Right. Yeah, that sounds about right to me. And then the Silent Shadow were able to board the vessel. They take out a few elites, but then they take out a few brutes, but someone trips the alarm. Atriox knows that they're coming. He waits for them on the bridge. They eventually arrive, and he tells them, don't hide, guys, show your faces. And then he tries to reason with the leader of the squad that's been sent to assassinate him. So the squad's leader was Risa Azavali. I'm going to go with that. And Risa was not persuaded by his arguments at all. But unfortunately for Risa, the rest of his team were, and they all decided to stab him in the back before he could kill Atriox, and they all signed up to the Banished.
That's a hardcore way to join. Even for elites. It'd be so brutal.
Yeah, the equivalent of this would be talking a team of Spartans around and then having them you get Noble Team coming to kill you and you convince everyone to join you and they all shoot Carter in the back of the head and sign up. Like, it's a real show of dedication to this. So he now has a team of Silent Shadow with him as well. And then by May 6th, 2553, Atriox gained control of Enduring Conviction. Now, we've seen little bits of this in the cutscene introducing him in Halo Wars 2 as well. It is commanded by Shipmaster Led Valar, and the short version of this is Atriox attacked a base of elite Covenant separatists, and Led Valar's fleet was assigned to this base. So he was called in for reinforcements. He goes down to the planet. He finds Atriox, who surrenders himself, and this is a ploy he will use several times. He's taken aboard Enduring Conviction, and the rest of the fleet are busy radioing the ship looking to know, did you capture Atriox? What's going on? And Atriox very brazenly sort of says to Let, don't answer for a minute and we'll chat. And they have like a small conversation, and Atriox kind of feels out the mood in the room and then realizes that Let is open to persuasion, to coming over to the Banished. And he makes him an offer and basically says, come and join us and I'll keep your ship crewed and fueled forever. And I think they're on board for about 10 hours, and then Let finally makes the decision to join Atriox. And he pulls off this maneuver, they mentioned it here, where he jumps into slipspace with a fully ionized hull and destroys and damages most of the elite fleet that he slipped away from. So he cripples most of them that could have followed him to pursue them. And now Atriox has a super powerful ship and can do some big shit. Soon after they escape, they make their way to Ansket 4, which was a Covenant hydroprocessing centre, but the UNSC had just managed to take control of it, unfortunately for them. The Banished appear, kill all the humans, and then refuel Conviction while they're there. Some point after that, Valar and his crew, it says reluctantly swear fealty, but when we get to Let Valar's section in the lore, it basically says that he could tell which way the wind was going, and he knew that his option to join the Banished wasn't as optional as he may have thought, and there may have been like skull crushing if he didn't. So he sort of reluctantly signed up to help Atriox because he knew if he didn't, it would be very bad for his life expectancy. So in exchange for their loyalty, like we said, the Banished now crew and fuel the ship, and by the end of 53, the Banished are now looking through human black markets on worlds like Venezia, and they're trading with them. They're looking for Forerunner technology to improve their weapons and shields. They're buying up nukes. That's covered in... Which story is that with the ferrets when they're...
Retribution.
Their cover is their buying... Retribution.
Yeah.
Where they're out to look for nukes, and they're offering to sell them to the Banished because Atriox is in a buying sort of a mood.
He's got some monies.
And then, well, look, he's got the monies, and he's not too fussy about who he does business with as long as you've got the goods. By December 2553, Atriox and his Banished have now carved out a fearsome reputation among Oni and the Keepers of the One Freedom. Following the subjugation of... This is a few years later, now we bounce forward. Following the Can I not say that word now?
You got it.
Following the subjugation of Earth by the Created in October 2558, the portal linking Installation 00 to Earth was shut down. And then a month later, on November 25th, Atriox and the Banished arrived in force aboard Enduring Conviction at the Ark. Atriox leads a team there. He wants to construct a halo. Apparently this was mentioned specifically in some of the Halo loot crates, but the information isn't listed online anymore. So he wanted to go to build a halo to assure control of the galaxy. but his ability to do that was hampered, and he ends up there for 4 months. And then on March 20th, 2559, the Spirit of Fire appears out of the blue above the Ark, and thus begins the events of Halo Wars 2. I don't really think we need to recap the events of Halo Wars 2 too much, do we?
No.
Short version.
No.
The crew of the Spirit of Fire murder the fuck out of Enduring Conviction and strand Atriox on the Ark. And it eventually leads to the launch of a new replacement Halo for Installation 4, and Anders goes in it to go back to the galaxy to raise help from the UNSC. And then Atriox is stranded there because he has no way off. So then in October 2559, the Keepers of the One Freedom are on Reach. They activate a slipspace portal that is there, and then Atriox uses the remains of the Manakite Manakite Mountain. I think that's right. It's the crystal that Blue Team found in the Forerunner facility under Manakite Mountain in First Strike, the one that does the weird time travel shit and Forerunner stuff. At the end of that novel,
Oh yeah.
there is a short, I think it's a short additional to like one of the re-releases, but it is basically Tartarus bringing these shards that they found back to truth.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
he had them on the Dreadnought and took them with him to the Ark. So Atriox got a hold of those and was able to use them to power a portal on the Ark to get back to Reach. And then when he arrives on Reach, Castor takes the Keeper forces, including Veda Lopez and the Ferrets, and they take the ship that brings Atriox back to Reach, and they head back to the Ark because they want to activate the Halos and begin the Great Journey. Atriox doesn't really have the opportunity to slaughter them for their defiance because they know that Cortana and the Guardians are probably on their way to Reach to investigate the portal being active. So he has to like cut his losses and head on. Atriox brings a few people back with him into the main galaxy. There's 3 called out by name that we'll mention as we go here, and chances are I think they may be of some importance in Infinite because they get specific call-outs. And otherwise he left thousands of troops back on the Ark to defend it from the Spirit of Fire. And that pretty much sums up everything we know about Atriox to the present day. He is back in the galaxy for something important, but we don't know what. And we can assume it has something to do with the events of Halo Infinite and the battle on the Halo.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, if his original objective was to get a Halo and then control the control the universe or whatever, the galaxy, there's probably something around. Maybe this Halo is up for grabs. There's something wrong with it, or there's a weak or something he knows, and maybe he thinks if we take this Halo, we can actually control it and use it. I don't know.
It's like a strategic advantage to taking it.
Yeah, I assume it has something to do with the what is the person they talk about that Escharum mentions, the one that we were speculating might be the
Harbinger?
Didact. I'm very confused now because Harbinger's the name of
I'm also thinking Mass Effect.
the Reaper in Mass Effect 2. But I do think it's something.
We know the word. Yeah, I think it's the Harbinger or something like that.
Yeah, so it could be something to do with that, but we really don't know at the minute. So we'll move on from him to the now promoted second in command of the Banished. So Decimus was the original second in command. He went with Atriox to the Ark. He then got murdered at the Ark, so Escharum has now stepped in. He is second in command. Next up, we have Escharum. He was born in 2447 approximately, and we get that based on calculations that Castor makes during Shadows of Reach. We don't have an exact date, but he's theorizing that he's quite old. But he's still, got it going anyway. So he is grey hair colour, red eyes, and he is a war chief. Got a little bit of background information on him, not as much So, Escharum is a prominent war chief within the Banished, and he inherited the position of second in command, like I said, after the death of Decimus. He was also Atriox' former mentor. Around April 2558, Atriox and Decimus departed for the Ark aboard the Enduring Conviction, leaving Escharum in charge of all the Banished forces that remained in the galaxy. So, shortly after Atriox left, Escharum assigned Blade Master Insalan Gadogi to Castor as an advisor. The Keepers of the One Freedom had just signed up to the Banished before Atriox left. The Sangheili was supposed to be there as a consultant, but really he was there to make sure that Castor behaved himself, didn't step out of line, didn't try to betray Escharum, and that would come back to bite Escharum in the ass. Following the death of Decimus, I said he becomes official second in command of the Banished now, not just the person leading all the forces in the galaxy. In the summer of 2559, Escharum receives a transmission from Atriox on the Ark, telling him that he has the Forerunner crystal flakes and that he needs to use the portal to return to the galaxy. So Escharum has to go to Reach and find it because they don't know where it is. Escharum takes 3 different war packs to Reach. There's the Keepers. He also takes the Legion of the Corpse Moon and the Ravaged Tusks. Legion of the Corpse Moon is a fantastic name for a group. So it's very Destiny sounding.
It's good, it's good.
So on October 12th, 2559, Escherum's on Reach. He arrives aboard his Corvette. He's there to give off to Castor because they've spent a lot of time looking for this portal and they still haven't found it, and Atriox is stuck in the Ark with his thumb up his ass waiting, and he's not going to be very happy with everyone. And the Keepers then detect a squadron of UNSC craft escorting a dropship high into the Highland Mountains. He has a look at their path and he realises they're heading towards the Missing Mountain. And this is the mountain that was originally above Castle Base that the Covenant dug out as they tried to get to Blue Team and Halsey. Well, they weren't actually trying to get to Blue Team and Halsey, they were trying to get to the Forerunner installation that happened to be below Castle Base. So Escharum and the Banished dig their way in. They activate the portal. Atriox comes back. As soon as, like we said, the Lich arrives with Atriox, they all get off. As they're going to be evacuated, Castor makes his move. Castor takes the Lich. Castor heads to the Ark with the ferrets, who he doesn't realise are Oni. And like I said, they realise they didn't have time to have a fight over this. Atriox and Escharum have to bolt. Escharum makes a promise that he will kill Castor if he ever sees him again. And then the remaining Banished flee from Reach on Escherum's Corvette. And then in December 2559, Escharum leads the Banished to victory against the UNSC in the battle for Installation 07. And
we shall see. We shall see.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And then the last little bit here is Escharum maintains control over the installation in the months that followed, leading the Banished once again in a resurgent conflict spearheaded by Master Chief. So that's going to be Halo Infinite. And that's kind of what we have on Escharum. It's not as much as Atriox, but we have a little bit of backstory.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to learn kind of who he is and that they're really fleshing him out. And he's somebody. He's someone who's angry. We'll see what happens.
Right, next up, we have some of the much smaller members of the Banished. We've got Minas, not Manus. So, all the information we have on him is that his hair is ashen brown and he is a chieftain. And then we have a little bit of story, but basically he features in the short story at the end of the limited available version of Shadows of Reach. What was it, like Walmart exclusive or something?
Yeah, that weird.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, I haven't actually read this one.
Yeah, we never got it over here at all because we don't have a Walmart. Now, the short story is called Sacrifice. I'm not going to go too far into it, but the short version is Atriox needs a way to power the slipspace portal to get back to Earth. He sends Minas and his team to go and find the Anodyne Spirit, which is the dreadnought from Halo 2/3. It's the one that Truth takes to the Ark. We didn't have an answer for a long time as to what happened to the dreadnought after everyone got to the Ark. Turns out it landed and docked in a Forerunner city out in the middle of one of the oceans on the Ark, and then it just sat there. And the team go to the dreadnought. They breach their way on board. They're moving through the ship. They have a brute with them who previously served on the ship, and he's taking them to try and find the slipspace crystal shards. And then they discover that the ship actually isn't empty, and there are a group of like hardcore Covenant brutes who have been there and probably don't even realize that the Covenant fell because they were left to guard the ship from any intruders. So they fight their way to the crystals, they get them, and they fight their way back out. But the two teams that go in to the ship to retrieve the crystals, only the two leaders survive. Everyone else is slaughtered. They make their way back. They get the shards. They give them to Atriox, and then eventually, when the portal is open, that's how he powers his way back into the main galaxy. So that's all we really have on him. There isn't a huge amount more there. I couldn't even find any information if Menace made his way back to the galaxy with Atriox. It doesn't say. He could still be on the Ark, but he put him down as an unknown possible for Infinite.
Well, he's either in Infinite or he's in Halo Wars 3, so he's in one of them. Depending on where
I feel like he's. I mean, I think he's going to be in the next one. What's it called? Divine Wind.
Oh, that's true.
That could be very true.
If he's still on the Ark, I imagine that story is, Halo Wars 3, right? This is the Ark. This is what's left behind.
If we get a Halo Wars 3, I kind of don't hold my breath on that one.
That's what I mean. We're not getting a Halo Wars 3, so this is probably where that story's going to be now.
Yeah, I could see that happening. So yeah, that's all we have with him. He could be there. He's only a chieftain. Like, if he is in Halo Infinite, he's a pretty low level boss at best. Next up, we've got Pavium and Voridus. Now, we're going to tackle the two of these together because otherwise we're reading the same information twice. They feature in Awakening the Nightmare. So first we've got Pavium. He is bald. He's got red eyes. He is a warlord. He is the older, sensible brother when you play Awakening the Nightmare. And then we have Voridus. He has black hair, red eyes. He is a lieutenant. He is the young, glory-seeking dickhead who caused all of the trouble in that DLC.
What a jerk.
Everything that goes wrong.
What a jerk.
It's all his fault. So, in the months after installation... hang on. Oh, yes. I was going to say there's no Installation 09, but I think that's what we officially call Anders Halo now, isn't it?
I didn't realise that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I think Installation 08 is the one that blows up in Halo 3, and then this is 9.
Okay, cool.
So, the numbers just keep going up. So, in the months after Installation 09 left the Ark, Voridus and Pavium were tasked by Atriox with salvaging starship equipment from around the remains of High Charity. And in the cutscene at the start, he warns them, do not fuck it up, you're on thin ice, is the basic version of it that he tells Voridus. So I get the feeling Voridus is fucked up on more than one occasion. I think there's even a little back and forth between him and Pavium, where Pavium basically says, you can't fuck this up again or I can't save you. So they go to the crash site. They establish a perimeter. Vardis leads his forces to High Charity. Despite being told only to salvage around the site, he takes Scarab up to High Charity. He deactivates the defense system and he shoots a hole through the protective force field around it. He then sends some brutes in, and to their horror they find out that the Flood is still alive, and then that kicks off the whole story of Awakening the Nightmare, which is basically the guys get separated for a while. They have to fight their way back to each other. They then are like on the defensive retreat and have to fight their way back to the control area to reactivate the Sentinel defenses and then take out the proto-grave mine that formed outside High Charity and beat the Flood back into submission and get them back inside High Charity and bottled up or dead. And they do eventually succeed. I think the last mission has you building mega turrets to like take out the proto-grave mine, and then it finishes with Atriox arriving just at the end of the battle and telling the lads they're not done until they clean all this shit up again. But he doesn't murder them, so he's not too upset.
That or he's running out of dudes and can't just murder he needs people.
That could be true, although I kind of feel like if you're in the Banished and there's a lot of brutes, someone is there waiting to like step up and fill the ranks.
Yeah, but at the same time, these guys monumentally fucked up. Like, they released the Flood, like, they really did. This isn't just like, oh, we stole some shit we shouldn't have. It's like, oh man, we fucked up.
Yeah, but they did fix their mistakes. That clearly counts for something in the Banished.
How many died?
You're allowed to fuck up as long as you can fix it. Well, no one important died, only foot soldiers.
I don't know, man. Atrox cares about his foot soldiers. I know we just established that.
Only to a point. He will use you to plug a hole whenever it suits him.
That's true. That's true.
So that's pretty much the events of Awakening the Nightmare. Best thing about that is getting the Flood in nice high quality cutscenes. The Flood have upgraded a bit since we've seen them in Halo 3. Quite enjoyable. We all like it. Who have we got next? We've got a couple of short ones here because there isn't a lot about them. So we have another brute called Tovarus. He got featured in a cannon fodder. If you remember, we got a couple of concept arts. He is the brute that is in the nice, clean, pristine, perfect suit of armor. He is a brother of Hyperius, and he is on Installation 07 at the time of Infinite. And it is said he has encountered Chief personally. We then have, as mentioned, Hyperius, brother of Tovarus. Hyperius has various pieces of his suit made up of Hunter-class Mjolnir armor, including a helmet and torso attached to one of his pauldrons. He also has a necklace of what appears to be Spartan fingers.
Yeah,
and
so
he
messed
wields
up.
a gravity hammer and has a jetpack. Yeah, he's definitely been set up as quite a ferocious enemy. And also some people, I think almost to the point of like fantasizing about the fact that he may have killed Locke because of the armor on his shoulder plate.
No, that's like, so, I don't think so.
That'd be
No,
such. I mean, as bad as like the character was received, like I feel like that's just not the way to write him out.
I think
No, you
I
don't
think he'll just be gone off screen on some mission. Like, we'll just never see or hear from him again. I don't think he needs to necessarily die, because I mean, there's characters on his team like Nathan Fillion's like Buck is just not just going to fade away into the Halo lore. Do you know what I mean?
Well, don't forget Buck has his own team again, so he's no longer on Osiris. But I think at best this is like a misdirection, and we will find out that he is alive, but he got the Douglas treatment at some point and was literally beaten out of his armor. And that's possibly why there's a helmet and a chest piece that are there. We'll find out that the fingers aren't his, they belong to unnamed Spartan 4s who got picked off, more than likely. But there's not much.
Was his armor that unique to be identified as his?
Well, you see, that's the thing. It's just people getting excited because it is I do think someone at 343 has said don't read too much into it. So at best, I think it will be nothing more than like is Locke dead? Is he not? And then we'll find out he's not. So next up, we have a little bit of information on this guy. So this is Zeratus. So he is a captain. Now, we have some information on him, but the reason I've added him here is he is specifically called out. I've called it the Shadows of Reach Walk of Fame at the end of the novel. There are 3 people underneath Atriox called out by name as they get off the lich at the portal in Reach. So he is one of them. So Zerdris joined the Banish very early on. He either participated in Atriox's initial revolt or joined shortly after, so he's been there pretty much from the beginning. He continued to serve Atriox faithfully for at least a decade and was among those chosen to accompany him to the Ark. He was one of the people tasked with going to the Dreadnought to get the crystals, so he went with Minas and the Sangheli as well. So Zerderus was the guy left in charge of guarding the retreat, so he didn't actually go all the way in and fight his way to the crystals. He was left to guard the dropships and make sure that they could get back out again. So this is why he's the only one that survives with the full team. The other 2 are not so fortunate. Don't have a huge amount more really to say about him. He's there. He's known Atriox for a long time. That's about it. So I figure if he was important enough to call out by name at the end of Shadows of Reach, and we know that he was in Sacrifice, then he may be someone to keep an eye out on for Infinite.
Yeah, maybe.
He made it back to the galaxy and he got a name, he got a shout out. I think that's gives me reasonable confidence that we'll see more of this guy. But he is the last of the major banished brutes that we have. There are the 2 leaders of the Corpse Moon and the Ravaged Tusks, but I didn't call them out just because, yeah. We know the events of Shadows of Reach. If they're in Infinite, they're in it, but I was undecided, and that's why I figured we just wouldn't waste any time on them. The next one up we have is the Lekgolo. There is one to call out, and that is Colony. So he was DLC for Halo Wars 2. Well,
They.
Unspecified. They, yes, because there's more than one of them. But unsettles me a little bit sometimes. So they serve the Banished, but they report specifically to Atriox and don't really talk to anyone else. Colony was charged with everything to do with the Golo during the Banished operations on the Ark, and then after the defeat and the loss of the ship, Colony was tasked with looking for other ships to get them off the Ark, and that is the Spearbreaker DLC, where the ODSTs go in to stop Colony from activating the Forerunner fighter ship so that Atriox can't get off the Ark and escape back to the galaxy again. And there's not a huge amount more specifically to call out in Colony, other than it's kind of cool to have a hunter character with a name and sort of like any personality at all. It would be interesting to see what you could do with a boss fight with an enemy that has like the potential of a hunter.
I think it's really cool that there is a hunter character. I wish there was more of them. I know they're probably hard to write for it in like lore, like how to explain and stuff, but I think it'd be really cool to see named hunters have some kind of interaction with them. I think it'd be pretty cool. We probably won't get any, but it would be cool if they did. I'm presuming that Infinite will be the basic standard. Probably a lot of elites, a lot of Totally blanking on what they're called now. I don't know why.
Hunters.
No. Oh, brutes. Sorry. We'll probably get
Brutes.
mostly a load of brutes, I think, and maybe one or two Sangheili, but for Infinite, I'd be surprised to get something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to fight some cool, crazy hunter stuff in Infinite. Like, you get a little bit of it you get a taste of it in Halo 5 on Argent Moon when the hunters are like wriggling around the outsides of the corridor, and then you see them slither down the window when you come out of the lift and like crawl into their armor and shit. They could do cool things with a fight like that, where you could be fighting an enemy who could, ditch their armor and slither into the walls and then attack you again. There's potential there. Plus, it would be nice to have a hunter that spoke. Colony has this deep, rumbly, interesting voice in the Halo Wars DLC because he has to talk with his leader voice. Moving on from him,
commanding voice.
Yeah, that sort of like deep, droney thing going on. Next up, we have the Sangheili of the Banished. So we'll run through these fairly quick. We have Jega
Radomni.
That's as good as any. So he is a Blade Master and a member of the Hand of Atriox. There is very little to go on with him. So the information we have, if you remember, he is other concept art we got of the Elite with the robot arm.
Oh yeah, he looked fucking cool.
He does look cool. And the information that came in the canon fodder with that is, in hushed whispers throughout the ranks of the Banished, Jega's name is spoken of with cure. The Blade Master's history is shrouded in rumour and half-truths. Some say he was an experiment, affront to his own kind. Others make mention of a clandestine ambush gone wrong. Very few know the truth. Fewer still speak of it. One thing is certain: he has haunted demons before, and as the first recruit welcomed into the Hand of Atriox, he will do so again.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about what this Hand of Atriox group is. This selected army force.
It sounds very much like the group of bosses you're going to fight your way through. Like they are the inner circle.
We're talking five
or
dudes.
all the little side quests in Infinite can be hunting down the Hand of Atriox.
Oh, I'm sure they're main story.
Oh yeah, he has very cool concept art, and you can see there's great potential there for cool shit. Just Elite with robot arm was enough to completely win me over with that. So next up we have Let Valar. So he has yellow eyes. That's all the physical information we really have. You've seen him in the cutscenes in Halo Wars 2. He is the commander of the Enduring Conviction. We covered pretty much all of his recruiting by Atriox. There's not a huge amount more to go over really with him that we haven't covered already. He had quite a good career as a shipmaster with the Covenant. He's responsible for quite a few UNSC ship kills. After the schism, he fought the Brutes and then didn't sign up to the Arbiter or anything and stayed with a group of separatists, would eventually join with Atriox, and then would lose his ship on the Ark. And we don't actually know of his status at the end of the game because he is ordered to take all of his troops and take control of the Halo before it slips bases away from the Ark. So he may have been on the Halo and vented into space when Anders kicks off the Banished, or he may have been supervising from a distance and still be alive. We really don't know. But I get the feeling from the cutscenes in Halo Wars 2 that if he did survive losing the Halo, Atriox probably pulled him apart piece by piece.
Or just reassigned him to basically die in battle. Oh,
I think Atriox just kills you instantly. He fucked up twice. he lost his ride home, and then he lost the halo that he came for in the first place. I don't think you come back from that. Like, even I think unleashing the flood from High Charity is lower down the list of fuck ups than what he did. So he may be dead. He may be sucking vacuum in space. We don't know. The last really Sangheili that we have is Okro Vagadoon. So he is a Blade Master. He is the third member of this crew that went on the sacrifice mission to the Anodyne Spirit. So he also lost all of his team, but he survived. So we have Vagadoon, and we have Zerderus, and we have Voridus. So they're the ones that all came back from this mission. Not much more to say there. He was a little overconfident going into the Dreadnought. He quickly learned that there were other people there. They fought their way out. He's a pretty good fighter. Not much more to really say about him. He could also be in Infinite. Like, he's another character set up with a little backstory. And they're probably going to want us to fight some elites. And I figure a Blade Master's a pretty good target.
I would think so.
Let's get melee.
The other two that we have just to mention, we have very little to say about them because they are only name dropped in the end of Shadows of Reach. We've got Jeto Ratum, and all it says about him is the only survivor of an unprovoked artillery attack. Have cure, he can be short-tempered. And I think when Caster is talking with his elite about it, they mention that he's got very crazy bulgy eyes. So I like the idea of like crazy-eyed elite.
Crazy eyes.
He's seen some shit. And the other one mentioned is Balcarus, and he gets the poorest description ever. He is just a competent captain.
Great.
Nice.
That's
Sounds
all
like
we know about him.
A good boss. Good boss
Yep,
fight.
it's like your school report when it says attended class all year, and you're going, oh, that's not good.
Attentive learner.
Yeah, tries his best.
I feel like he's like the tutorial boss fight or some shit.
Yeah, very much so. A competent captain, now dead. So that's pretty much everyone that has any potential to show up in Halo Infinite. I have one more shout out because I read it as a notable member of the Banished and I then laughed for a while. So I thought we'd throw this one in here. So I watched a video on this and I was told that the correct pronunciation is Yap Yap, and then in all caps, the Destroyer.
The Destroyer.
And it must always be said like that. Yes. So
Yap Yap.
Yap
The
Yap.
Destroyer.
That name sounds familiar. He featured on... Was the event in Master Chief Collection? Wasn't it the Yappening?
They did it. I think they did it in both games.
Yeah, it was. He was like a character in Halo Wars 2.
And I think there was the Yappening. I think they called it in.
Yeah.
He was in Warzone then as well. He'd show up.
It was I think
Yes.
it was in
Yap.
Halo Wars 2 in like Blitz or something, and then they carried it over into Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, he is a boss, or he is a playable character, I think, in the multiplayer in Halo Wars 2 in his own right. He is one of them. And then he got some nice... He got like Pride of Place on Master Chief Collection as the like cover image for a month on his throne. And then he screams at you in Warzone every now and again. So... this is the information we have on Yap Yap, and I think it's great. So... Yap Yap was a low-ranking deacon in the Covenant's Ministry of Sanitation before being kidnapped by the Banished. Yap Yap rose through the chain of command within the Banished due to being slower than other grunts and avoiding eye contact when jobs needed filled. That's a fantastic way to like just go up the food chain. After discovering the Throne of Woe, Yap Yap rebelled against the Banished in favour of locating the fabled golden methane hydrate mines of Saboteur. Which
What a
absolutely
sentence.
sounds like
What?
Sounds like a location in Destiny, like we're going to the golden methane mines of Saboteur to fight the fucking whatever, the darkness. And he believed it was hidden somewhere in the Ark. Yap Yap managed to lose more Ungoi in battle than were ever carried to the Ark in the first place. The Throne of Woe would somehow produce more Ungoi reinforcements and for Yap Yap, as he argued and kicked the throne. And the last line of this is the most important one. Yap Yap may be high as fuck on drugs. And imagining all of this.
Oh, fascinating.
Is that an actual lore entry?
The actual lore entry says that all of this may be a methane-fueled dream of Yap Yap, so I'm going to take that as high on drugs. Somewhere there is a stoned grunt imagining that he is fighting off the humans in Warzone and defeating the Banished in battle in a rebellion, and he's probably sitting in a cave somewhere off his little face. But
man, oh man.
I do like the idea
Bless him.
I think there would be good potential there for like a very strange... Now that Halo is kind of delving into strange, not quite canonical stuff, what if you had like a drug-fueled boss battle with like a crazy Yap Yap? Where he's imagining like a super battle against Master Chief. And all sorts of crazy shit's happening and kicking off all around you. And then when it's done, it's just like Chief kicking this like stoned grunt on the ground and being like, I'm not even going to kill you, you're not worth it.
I mean, I could definitely see the grunt goblin that Yap Yap uses being in Infinite, since we've only ever seen it in Warzone and in Halo Wars. So there's potential for other Ungoi to be high off their methane.
Well, it's a cool concept, the Goblin in general, of like, I mean, how do you make grunt matter against like a Spartan? Like you stick him in a mech suit and away he goes, like make him high as fuck.
You get more Stoltz. That's how you make the grunts matter.
No man, Stolt doesn't want to know. He's a beaut. More Stolt.
No, there's got to be more out there.
Do you think since Joseph Staten is back in Infinite, there's going to be Joseph Staten voiced grunts in
300%.
Like
300%. There's going to be Joel Staten grunts in there. If not, at least there'll be at least one. But like he's probably done way more than that. Like.
Yeah, he has a particular fondness for them, so I'm kind of hoping we get something cool there. But I just like the idea of kind of like the Scarecrow missions in Arkham Asylum. You go and fight Yap Yap, and then it all goes crazy. So I love shit like that, but I don't actually expect him to be in Infinite. Unfortunately.
No, maybe not.
Probably not. But there's room for more grunts to rise through the ranks.
That is very true. And thankfully, that is the end of all the banished movers and shakers. So some of them may appear in Infinite, some of them may not, but that is all the likely suspects for now.
Nice. All the known ones, anyway. I just hope that like there's like a Headhunters type of side mission where it's like, oh, this leader of the Banished is over doing crazy things over here. Go like track him down, and then you do like maybe a 3-part mini mission or something to go take this fort or whatever, and then disrupting that then like helps you out later on or something, or makes it easier later on.
A pitch an idea here.
I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of things just like that, Oran, in this.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, that's just based off of what they've said. That's what I think is, that's definitely one of the paths they're going to take, and that just gets me really excited because that's definitely something that I want.
Here's my crazy proposal for Halo Infinite: the Nemesis system.
I had that same thought as well. That would be dope. The
only problem would be how would you make all these banished canon, but something like that would be pretty great. Just like take out your lower enemies and work your way up the food chain.
The Nemesis system
It's a
makes
good
that
game.
game so interesting.
It
And it's on
is.
Game Pass.
Always good. One last thing I'll just shout out here before I hand it back to you guys to wrap up for this week. Our next entry in the Dossier series is going to be another bloody big one. It's going to be Dr. Halsey and Cortana.
Hot diggity.
So,
Hot
yep.
diggity.
As we
And
get
that will
closer
be
now to
number
Infinite, we are...
8.
Oh, see, we're getting rightly. As we get closer to Infinite, we are into all the big characters now.
Yes, so Dr. Halsey and Cortana will be episode 8. We don't think we've announced episode 9. And if you've done your math, you might be able to predict who's going to be episode 10 before Infinite comes out. A character we've strangely not talked about yet. So that's what the roadmap is looking like before the end of the year. Shall we take it home?
Take me home, Oran.
Alrighty, David. Thank you all for joining us, you beautiful listeners. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, you can find all of our episodes on our website, halopodcast.com. You can find the previous Character Dossier miniseries episodes there. You can also check out our YouTube channel. If you want to listen to everything all in one feed, just follow Halo Podcast Evolved on your favorite podcast service, and you'll get pretty much every single show on that one feed, minus a few here and there on the YouTube. But once again, another shout out to our patrons. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much. And if you want to learn more about becoming a patron, head over to patreon.com/HaloPodcastEvolved to learn more. If you would like to leave us a voicemail to be heard and reacted to on our live shows, you can call us at 205-EVOLVED, which is 205-386-5833. Again, Halo Infinite, December 8th. Mark it on your calendars. We still have quite a bit of content to get through before that, so stick around. And until next time, I've been your host, Oran, and Evolve.
Evolve!
Evolved.